Hello everybody and welcome back to Juno New Origins, where last episode we put this rocket up into orbit, and I said that we probably have enough to do our Luna landing with this, and that's still true. We probably do have enough, but there's a couple of things that I want to change on this quick. So we're going to bring this back. Specifically, we know that we've got... Wait, we can resume this flight? What? End flight? Undo and exit? Okay, apparently we can't actually undo that flight. So we're going to have to, I guess, bring that down? And land it? Or just go with it? Because what I was going to say is I wanted to put a crew in here, and the burn rate of this engine is too low. So apparently we can't undo this craft at this point, presumably because I restarted the game. So that is definitely awkward. Are we turning this? I don't know if we are. Hang on. We need to be on the space capsule. Now we're turning it. Okay. So that is reasonably fine. We could just lock this velocity to retrograde. This is a lot of weight to turn, of course, and we could just bring this guy right on down. So that is a theoretical possibility. I would have preferred to be able to just undo it, because this was always intended to be a quick test flight. I didn't actually intend to graduate this, so that is interesting. I don't know why we can't undo this. What happens if we retry? It puts us back to the save point. Okay, so I think I understand how that system works then. So we're currently locked into this. That's definitely understood. Okay, let's extend out our solar panels then, and I guess we're going to have to bring this down? Or just destroy it. I'm just going to destroy the craft. I don't actually care that much about the money. So we're going to build this, and I want to make a couple of quick changes here. So, change number 1. I want to put a Drew in this. Or I guess a Druid. So in he goes. Change number 2. That was not it. Undo that. Do we have a Druid in here right now? Yes. Okay. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to detach this, and I guess detach this as well. So this stage right here, this is going to have a ridiculous amount of burn time right now. We know that... Where is the burn time here? Yeah, 1.13 hours. So this is too much burn time. I want to increase the nozzle throat size of this. This will reduce the specific impulse, but I want to put the burn time down a fair amount here. So the nozzle length is 200. The nozzle throat size can be 100. This is currently pressure fed, and I think that's reasonably fine. This is still going to be an absurdly long burn, and we can bump this up in size to like 175 perhaps. Would that be clipping? No, but it would be probably too tall, wouldn't it? That is going to be too tall. Okay, so we're going to have it be something like this, and just increase the nozzle size, or turn it into a gas generator. So the gas generator will burn through a lot faster, but it'll be a lot less specific impulse. Keep in mind, the reason why this is a problem is because we can only burn at 2x speed. So we're going to have some pretty long burns here. If we had this like this... This is going to be 22.5 meters. Now, we could go with a different nozzle style, but the bell nozzle is the best way to go right now. So that is definitely understood. That will make matters quite a lot better. It drops our specific impulse, but it is absolutely going to be... Let's see, what is the delta V of this? 1 kilometer per second, allegedly? That's not true. This is more like it. But this burn time is going to be 15 minutes. So in real time, that's going to be about 7 minutes of burn. So we might want to consider dropping this Spirit engine. I'm going to keep it here for size reasons. But we might want to consider dropping that Spirit engine and going with a Gnome engine. So something like this. The gnome engine would, of course, have to be massively increased in size. It's currently pressure fed, the nozzle length would be brought up, and we would definitely have to bring this down to be like 150 or so. It's the same exact specific impulse. This is a fair amount of additional thrust. I'm wondering about sizing here. This is probably going to be a little bit too big, is my current thinking. We're going to be too tall for this pad. So we're probably going to need to reduce that nozzle length a little bit and bring that specific impulse down a bit. But this is definitely better on the burn time. It's not great, but it's better. We could make this be a gas generator and reduce the specific impulse on it further. But I definitely don't like that. I don't like that at all. So if we were to do this, yeah, we can definitely see that that nozzle is going to be a little longer. Let's try at 140. Okay, let's try at 130. That's about right there. So this is going to be 279 seconds, exactly the same specific impulse, slightly higher thrust, and less burn time. It's not perfect on the burn time, that's for sure, but it's much more manageable. So that is fine. We'll just connect this on in like that. And let's check our staging. So our current staging is we fire these 6 engines all at once. Yeah, that's not what we want, for sure. This engine we know we can burn on the bottom, so that's okay. Once this interstage fires, that's when this gnome engine should go off. Okay, that looks correct. Landing legs, interstages there, and then parachutes. Yes. That all looks correct as far as the staging goes. Cool. So something along the lines of this. And I think now we're going to launch this, and this is going to be an actual launch. Too tall? By 0.1 meters. I am going to reduce it from this tank. There. Now it'll work. That'll reduce our payload weight a little bit, which is probably for the best. And let's go ahead and launch this. Okay. So we know we might have some thrust to weight issues with this lander, and that is absolutely understood. Let's throttle up and let's head out of here. So we know we've got some overexpansion damage here, but I'm not too concerned about that. We're going to shoot straight up for a little bit here until we are at an apoapsis of probably about 5 kilometers. And then I'm going to target about 70 degrees here. Okay, so this is 2 kilometers. 3 kilometers apoapsis. 4 kilometers. And there's 5 kilometers. Let's move this over to 70-degree pitch. And this is heading in the easterly direction. Perfect. How's that overexpansion damage looking? Starting to... Actually, it's no longer going up. So that looks perfect. So we're just going to propel right along here. And I want to be in orbital mode here. And we're just targeting getting that apoapsis somewhere around... Well, for now, this is okay, actually. We probably want to just lock this to prograde quite soon, though. Yeah, let's just burn here until we are at about a 50-kilometer apoapsis, and now we're going to lock it to prograde. Okay. There we go. So we should be starting to get a good amount of lateral speed here. And yeah, we can see this apoapsis is plenty high for right now. We may even want to drop this all the way down to 0 at this point and be getting purely lateral speed. So I'm going to do that for the moment. This might cause some weird detachments here. We'll see what that timing looks like and how much aero forces impact this. I'm not sure in Juno. That'll be an interesting thing to figure out. So we're getting a lot of lateral speed here. And this is actually rather interesting. We're getting a lot of lateral speed. There's a lot of shake going on right now, too. Our thrust to weight was incredibly high there until this ran out of fuel. Okay, so we're at a high enough altitude where we're not going to have any aeroforces issues from that separation. So that seems wonderful. In fact, we're high enough now that we should probably extend our solar panels. So we can see our apoapsis is 280, and we're very close to orbital speed here. So this is looking like a very good ascent. I'm going to fast forward this a bit because there's going to be a bit of a burn to get our apoapsis up, but you can see time to apoapsis is increasing at this point. We're very, very close to orbital speeds. So we're just going to burn this for a little while longer until we're at that 500 kilometer marker. I feel like that's a good benchmark for these thrust to weights. Okay, we're almost there. Cutting that throttle, that takes a while to cut, so that's noted. So now all we need to do is come around over here and plan a burn at the apoapsis and circularize this up. It doesn't have to be perfect, but something approximately like this should do. Okay, so we are going to align to this burn and burn this. Only 354 meters per second to get into orbit. So we can see how much DV do we have in this stage right now? 810. Okay, so this is not going to get us to the moon, but that is understood. Okay, we don't need all that much DV to get ourselves into orbit here, but this is going to be a fairly long burn. Our thrust to weight is quite low at this point, and that's fine. It doesn't actually matter. So that transit stage that we've got right now, that's going to be... Honestly, I'm wondering if we should just cut it for future flights. It might not be a bad idea to just remove that stage entirely. We'll see how this feels. So for now, of course, we need to be heading out to Luna. So we need to set that as our target, and we're going to be heading out probably sometime around here or so. Let's see what that feels like. Okay, so timing here is definitely not perfect. We can bring that down a little bit, and that would end up being an encounter something like... Yeah, I'm not too happy with this timing overall. And then I'm just looking at the inclination here. We could definitely burn it in to be something rather like this. That gives us an impact trajectory, apparently. Which I don't think we want an impact trajectory, to be honest. Our thrust to weight is suspiciously low right now. So maybe something along the lines of that. I'm not sure what this actually is looking like. We're definitely going to be at a wacky inclination as we do this, but that's probably okay. Let's think about not doing that. Okay. Yeah, looks like we probably are going to want something kind of like this. 600 is probably reasonably okay. We're massively overshooting in this direction, though, so that means that we should pull this back and change the timing on it, right? So that is going to be something kind of like that or so. We can see this is a bit curved, and I would like to push that out a little bit further here. Something approximately like this. Yeah, that timing is just not phenomenal. Okay, something approximately like that. Or so. 1.25 kilometers per second. So let's go ahead and align for that burn, and let's go. So we're definitely going to have to stage in this burn. No doubt about that. So we're going to fire up this engine and burn it completely out. So we're going to go on 2x, and that'll be fine. I don't know if this is going to auto-stage. We'll find out. I've never actually experienced that before, so we will see. We will definitely see. These solar panels are currently blocked by the fuel tanks, primarily. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so we are about to run out of fuel here. 3, 2, taking it to normal speed. Okay, it is not auto-staging. Noted. So this is going to be a pretty hefty amount of burn time here. Absolutely. So we're going to see if it took into account the fact that this switched the amount of thrust to weight. The thrust to weight is significantly lower here, and I don't know that that's actually going to take into account. So we might have to do a correction to this burn. We will see. What's our overall craft delta V remaining? Does this say? I'm not sure. I don't know how much delta V we have in this. It's probably quite a lot. But we're on 2x speed right now, and this burn time is going to be pretty lengthy. No doubt about that. Yeah, the accuracy is currently showing as not recommended. So I'm going to actually cancel this burn, and we're going to do this again at the at the periapsis. Once we come around another time. So this time it should be compensating for that. This is still saying accuracy not recommended. This is going to be because of the incredibly low thrust to weight here. Okay. So it's going to be something kind of like this, although we're probably going to want to... No, I don't like that. This is because this engine is incredibly low thrust to weight. The game is paused. Okay. That's why the engine was still on. Sure. So that seems fine for now. I'm going to warp here. And we're going to plan a burn at the periapsis, pushing this out something like that. So that is 15 megometers of distance there, but we can dial it in a little bit like that. And then we could maybe toss in a little bit of radial. This is probably good enough. But I would like to bring this in a little bit over here. Yeah, I think this is good enough. Okay, so this is still saying that the accuracy is not recommended, but let's try that again and see how this goes. Yeah, this thrust to weight is incredibly, incredibly low. Okay, so that burn is going to take a while. That's going to be a 16-minute burn, which means in real time, this is going to be an 8-minute burn. So definitely we're having some issues with our thrust to weight in this stage. I think there's no doubt about that. And again, like I was saying, we may want to consider just ditching this stage entirely. That might be our best bet. That would allow us to put a lot of additional fuel into the other stage, right? It would. And we'd save on the mass of the engine. And our thrust to weight would remain higher. Yeah, I think it's worth it. We're going to pull this back. This stage is definitely problematic. So let's get rid of that stage, and I want to get rid of everything in here. So that all is going to go away, and then we're going to bring this over, and I want to extend this up to be like 40 meters. This is probably going to be too tall, but I want to know by how much. So let's go ahead and put this out on the pad if it'll go. Yeah, it's too tall. By 3.5 meters. Okay, so we need to drop this down to 36.5, I believe. Really? We need to drop it by 0.1 more meters. Okay. So I guess it is less than. Equal to doesn't count. Or there's a rounding issue. That might be the case too. So that is going to save us some mass. there and put some additional mass into this engine. So in theory, this is going to be more efficient. In theory. So let's launch this guy straight up again. And yes, we know we're going to take some overexpansion damage. Our thrust to weight here is maybe a little lower in this super low atmosphere, but it's going to be plenty high. No doubt about that. So I'm watching our overexpansion damage here and wondering if we need to not be burning this engine at this time. That would be fine, probably. Our thrust to weight is reasonable. So previously it was like 56 point something on the damage that it got to. It's definitely slowing. Yeah, it's a little higher on the damage, but I think that's okay. Cool. So now we can see that our apoapsis is plenty high. I want to bring this over to 45 degrees for right now. We're going to burn here at 45 degrees until our apoapsis is somewhere around, well, probably about 50 kilometers would be what we'd be targeting. So that looks fine for the moment. Our current apoapsis is about 35 kilometers. And we're about to hit 50 here. That's 50 kilometers. Now I want to bring this over to a pitch of 0. So we're going to do exactly that. And we can see our time to apoapsis is going down at this moment, but our thrust to weight is so high that I think we can afford this. The only question is, do we have significant heating issues as we accelerate up? Yeah, we're taking heat damage. Okay, so this is going to blow itself up. That is understood. So we can't be quite this aggressive on the curve. Yeah, there it goes. So we can't be quite that aggressive on the curve, but we can definitely be fairly aggressive on that curve. Just not quite that aggressive. So once again, we're going to go straight up until the mage engine is no longer taking overexpansion damage. But maybe we should just do a hook. So straight up until our apoapsis is about 50, so that way we spend a lot less time in the atmosphere, and we're higher up by the time we start building up huge amounts of horizontal speed. That might not be a bad idea. We have really high thrust to weight in the latter portion of this, and we have to make sure that that's going to be a thing. So the mage engine I'm not too worried about. Our apoapsis is currently 5 kilometers. And I'm just going to burn straight up this time until that apoapsis is about 50. And then we're just going to go directly to 0 and see what happens. It's gonna be really awkward. In that case, we might want to take the apoapsis up to 80, actually. So this is not the most efficient way to get to orbit, for sure. We'd want to have a fairly smooth curve to it. But this powers us up through the atmosphere a little bit faster and means that we take less drag and less heat damage. So that's reasonably fine for now. I'm going to switch this at 60 kilometers. So this is 50 and 60. Dropping it to 0 degree pitch. So you can see the apoapsis there went up to about... Currently it's going down due to drag. That's understood. It's going to go back up. Our thrust to weight is so high that we're going to pick up large amounts of lateral velocity. Yeah, you can see there, it's starting to go back up. So we're significantly higher than we attempted this turn previously. And we're just going to burn here until our apoapsis reaches 500. So you can see our lateral velocity is going up very quickly. We already have half of the speed that we need. Our apoapsis is not yet out of the atmosphere, so that is definitely noted. But we're building up a lot more lateral speed. We're not quite as high up as I'd like to be here, and let's ditch these side tanks now that they're out of fuel. And we're just going to continue to push our apoapsis up. So you can see that lateral velocity, not quite as high as it was before, but we should have a fair amount of additional burn time in here, and this should be a little bit more efficient, in theory, anyway. So this ascent profile, definitely not the greatest. And our overall burn time, 4.4 minutes. That is much, much better burn time. So I'm quite content with that right now. Let's bump this up to 2x speed, and we can see we're very close to having our lateral velocity be at orbital velocity. We're really, really close here. So we should be seeing time to apoapsis going up, and yes, that is indeed happening. So that looks good. We are boosting that apoapsis up. We could do our orbit at around like 150 maybe? So that is a theoretical possibility. Or maybe like 200. It's definitely something that we could do. Is just target a lower apoapsis. But we need to raise our apoapsis anyway. So the question is, what's the point, right? We may as well bring it up to 500. So that looks good. And we're dropping ourselves into orbit just kind of automatically here. But we're most interested in raising that apoapsis at this moment. Okay, I'm going to call that good. 510 kilometers. That thing takes a hot minute to shut down. So that is understood. The periapsis here, we're going to, of course, boost up and circularize. Something about like that. And then we are just going to execute that burn. We should probably extend our solar panels. No. Please be locked to the burn. There we go. And let's extend this solar panel as well. Okay, so something along the lines of this, and we can fast forward through that burn a bit, and we have much better thrust to weight as we get to the last portion of this at this moment. So we should have a much easier time rendezvousing. Okay, so now sometime around this periapsis, which we're going to be passing shortly, I'm just letting it pass. There we go. Now at the periapsis, or I guess at the apoapsis, right? Yeah, Luna's out over here. So at the apoapsis, I want to burn sometime around here. Let's push that right on out. Okay, so we can see that we're going to have to change our timing a little bit here. It's going to be like out over this direction. Why is this locked? Oh, because it's executing the burn. Don't execute the burn yet. I don't have it finished. Okay. So now we're going to head out over this way. Okay. Is this a Brigo approach? It might actually be a Brigo encounter. Let's head out this direction for now, and we can toss in some of that radial. Okay, so, or rather some of that normal. So something kind of like that. Might need to get a little bit of radial in here if we really want to dial that in at all. But I think this is fine. I'm not too concerned about that. What I don't care for is the inclination that we're coming in at. Okay, let's get rid of that, get rid of this. So yeah, you can see we're definitely going to be flung out like that. We may want to consider actually setting our inclination correctly. So that would mean, I'm just trying to get this a bit lined up here. That's going to be a little complicated. Noted. Well, it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we're going to get our inclination lined up. I'd like to figure out exactly how to match this. So 5.49 degrees, and if we did a burn here, we would like to have this inclination be at that same 5.49 degrees, which it claims to be, right? But I don't think it actually is. Yeah, this is 1.72 up here. It's just a little weird in the way that this works. So what we'd want to do then is we'd want to go at the descending node target. We'd want to go to 1.49 in theory. I've tried this before and it didn't exactly work, but we'll see if we can get there. So we'd be looking at something about like... That's a little too much. About like that, to put us into the quote-unquote correct inclination. Okay, well, that is a burn that we can do next episode. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Atala, Ali Lee, Dark Horse, Xenocyte, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.